Say you've got data living in 500 dimensions. Image features, word embeddings, cells from a genome. Your brain can picture 2 dimensions, maybe 3, but never 500. So how do you look at something you literally cannot see? That's the problem t-SNE was built to solve. From a paper by Maaten and Hinton in 2008, it squashes very high-dimensional data down to a flat picture you can actually stare at. Here's the trick that makes it work. Now, you might already know PCA does dimensionality reduction too. So why reach for t-SNE? The two chase very different goals. PCA is linear and it cares about the big picture. It finds the directions of greatest overall variance and keeps that global spread intact. Great for compression, but when your goal is to see tight little groups, that global focus can smear the fine structure together. This method goes the other way entirely. It's nonlinear and it obsesses over local structure, over who your immediate neighbors actually are. It bends and warps space so that points sitting close together up in the original high dimensions stay huddled together down in the flat picture. And that single obsession is exactly what makes tight clusters pop out. So how does t-SNE actually turn a cloud of high-dimensional points into that flat picture? Follow the idea in 4 moves. Everything starts by rethinking distance as probability. For every pair of points, t-SNE asks how likely it is that one would pick the other as a neighbor. Nearby points get a high neighbor probability, faraway points get a tiny one. Raw distances become a web of neighbor odds. Then it scatters those same points down onto a flat 2-dimensional canvas, at first just randomly. Now every point has a position in the picture, even though that layout is basically meaningless for the moment. It's only a starting arrangement to be fixed up. Here's the heart of it. t-SNE nudges every point around the canvas, over and over, trying to make the neighbor probabilities in the flat picture match the ones from high dimensions as closely as possible. It's literally minimizing the mismatch between the 2 neighbor worlds. And as that matching gradually settles, something rather lovely happens on the canvas. Points that were genuine neighbors up top pull tightly together down here, while unrelated groups quietly drift apart. Similar items collapse into clean, well-separated blobs, and the hidden structure of your data finally becomes something you can just see. Let's lock in the 3 things you really need to remember about t-SNE. Preserves your neighbors, nonlinearly. t-SNE doesn't care about global geometry. It bends space to keep locally close points close, which is precisely why it exposes fine-grained groups that a linear method would blur. Reveals clusters hiding in embeddings. This is the go-to tool for eyeballing image features, word and sentence embeddings, and single cells in genomics. When you want to know whether your representation has actually learned real structure, a quick t-SNE plot shows you at a glance. Read the picture carefully. It's for visualization, not a general feature transform. Distances between clusters and even cluster sizes aren't meaningful. Results shift with the perplexity setting, and it's slow, which is partly why UMAP now often wins. Okay, let's pull it all together into 4 takeaways worth keeping. This technique visualizes high-dimensional data by squashing it right down to 2 or 3 dimensions that you can actually look at and reason about. Unlike PCA, it's nonlinear and preserves local neighbor structure, turning raw distances into neighbor probabilities and then nudging the points until those probabilities match across both dimensions. That focus makes similar items collapse into tight, well-separated clusters, which is why it's the standard tool for inspecting embeddings. But treat it strictly as a viewer, since the sizes of clusters and the gaps between them aren't really meaningful, and the perplexity setting can quietly change the whole result. If you enjoy AI unpacked this cleanly and this carefully, Standarity.com is full of explainers built just like this one.